Ktizo. Glad you're here this morning. It's a good thing the monsoon season is over because it poured here an hour and a half ago. Did everybody else get rain?
Yes.
We could see it coming. It was dark and it rained, but rain is good. I invite you, welcome. I invite you to stand, greet one another, share a sign of peace on this beautiful morning as Christ's community. Peace be with you. Welcome, Clarice just walked in.
Like we already greeted everybody, so we'll probably just walk
Ktizo coming up during October and November. We're going to be talking about spiritual gifts and gifts of the Spirit. And the worship team has asked a number of people to share a message with us. So these are some of the upcoming folks you don't want to miss and hear their story and share gifts of the Spirit they have. And we still have one open on November 20th if anybody wants to share the message on November 20th. And then, believe it or not, the end of November begins Advent. Christmas trees are up in the store already, right?
Yeah.
So, but we'll celebrate here as the coming of the Christ child. There's the baby.
Aww.
Choir practices today, 12:15. The farmer's market is setting up and is open. I hope you'll go out afterwards. They're going to have lemonade and all kinds of things, fresh vegetables going on there. We receive our Neighbors in Need offering today. We're not going to have worship team tomorrow. Ted and I are actually going away Monday, Tuesday to Albuquerque and the Balloon Festival. That's right. And actually, my sister-in-law's there already. Nara and I will meet here Monday night. Other things happening this week. Next Sunday, Amy and Marianne are bringing the message, and then at 10 o'clock we're going to have kind of a farewell party for them. You know, they're moving on to California, and so hope you'll hang around at 10 o'clock. If that's supposed to be a surprise. Surprise! And the board of directors is meeting next Sunday after worship, like at 12:15. To be updated on the progress being made for the Sober Living House. We're in the process of putting together our policies and procedures and applications and all that kind of stuff. So they'll meet with the steering committee next Sunday after the 11 o'clock service. Are there any other announcements?
When is the women's lunch?
The fourth Thursday. And it's going to be back at the Blue Pacific. Third Thursday. And the fourth Friday is the Theologian Day.
Third Thursday here at the Chinese buffet.
Mm-hmm. So you'll still be in town?
We're coming, I just want to
Good.
get it on.
Yeah, 12 o'clock. Any other announcements, questions? Good. Well, let's gather ourselves in the Spirit of God. Come, let us be God's community.
Come with love. The steadfast love of God never ceases.
Come with curiosity. We are one body, one planet, one church.
Come with hope as we gather with the bread and the cup. Justice is served. Let us worship.
Trees of green
epistles, the book of 1 Timothy. And it's believed that this book was not written by Paul, but rather by an unknown Christian writer in the mid-2nd century. And now most scholars agree that. But it is, it says it's a letter from Paul to his friend Timothy. Timothy is one who joined Paul in his ministry as Paul was starting new churches, and it appears that the letter was written on their behalf, but sharing the sentiments of Paul to his beloved disciple, Timothy. So Paul says to Timothy, I am grateful to God, who I worship with a clear conscience as my ancestors did, when I remember you constantly in my prayers night and day. Recalling your tears, I long to see you so that I may be filled with joy. I am reminded of your sincere faith, a faith that lived first in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and now, I am sure, lives in you. For this reason, I remind you to rekindle the gift of God that is within you through the laying on of my hands. For God did not give us a spirit of cowardice, but rather a spirit of power and of love and of self-discipline. that video just reminded me of rekindling that light that was, and it was a musical work that was written especially for children and for that Hanukkah theme. So rekindle the gift of God that is within you. It's one of the few times that women are named in the Bible. Lois, which in Greek means holy, and Eunice means victory or the god Nike. I know some Loises, and I worked with a Eunice. And Paul is sharing his gratitude to these women, how they helped him as he began this new church, this new congregation. And he's also writing to his disciple Timothy. So I began to think about my grandmother. I only had one grandmother. My mother's mother died very early. In fact, when my mother was like 3 years old, and her father died before I was born. But John Francis Nelson and Anna McCoy Nelson were my grandparents. And like my father, the family grew up in Pennsylvania, but then moved to Western New York and lived out in the country on a country road. I'm sure it reminded them of the hills of Pennsylvania. And Grandma and Grandpa, as we used to call them, Grandma and Grandpa, lived about a quarter mile down the road from us. So we could ride our bike as far as Grandma and Grandpa's house, and then if they gave us permission, we could ride about another quarter of a mile to where the thruway bridge went up over the thruway, but we couldn't go any further than that. They lived in a little 2-bedroom bungalow house. They had a basement and canning, everything that Grandma canned, because my grandfather had a garden that stretched for the two of them, like our whole property all the way to Imagine School. And he would say, oh, the garden's not doing very well this year. I'll only get 50 bushel of melons. I'll only get 100 bushel of corn. So they fed us, and they had a porch that really, they had a glider swing that they sat and they looked out over their garden. There was a pond there, and when Grandpa said it was frozen enough, we could shovel off the snow and we could go ice skating on the pond. I don't really remember my grandmother teaching me about faith. Like maybe Paul talks to Lois and Eunice, sharing their faith and teaching about faith. She was a quiet woman. They came to church with our family every Sunday. There was a big old family Bible that sat on the coffee table in their living room, but I don't know that anybody ever opened it. They certainly didn't quote Bible verses to us. But they both were this quiet, still voice, presence. At the end, when we had our full, and all our relatives had full of corn and melons and tomatoes and peppers, my grandfather just put food out and people came and harvested the garden, shared his garden with others. I remember on occasions when Grandma would come down and babysit us, and one year before Christmas she brought the Sears and Roebuck catalog. CJ, you probably don't know what that is, right? Like a paper cat. And we sat with her and we turned every page and marked something on every page that we wanted and or we thought our mother would want. It was in those, I guess in those kinds of moments and conversations that I learned through her about an inner faith. She never seemed to worry about anything. I don't know if they had money or power or hate for anybody. I never remember hearing any of that. But it was always that kind of sense that it'll be We'll stick together. We'll love one another through it. And one night, I think I was in junior high, we heard the ambulance go down our country road, and she had gotten up in the middle of the night and slipped and fell, and she died that night. And the celebration of life service at our First Congregational Church was the only time I ever saw my father cry. So there was a deep love that they passed on. What do you think about it? My grandfather falsified his birth certificate so he could go and fight in World War I. He wasn't quite old enough yet. They lived through World War I, World War II, the Korean War, most of the Vietnam War, and yet they were a people of peace, and a people of hope, and a people of love. So Ted, you could go to the next slide. And I thought of Paul's words, "For this reason I remind you to rekindle the gift of God that is within you, through the laying on of my hands. For God did not give us a spirit of cowardice, but rather a spirit of power and of love and of self-discipline." I don't think I ever saw Grandma and Grandpa have a spirit of cowardice, of being afraid of situations or the world or other people, but rather they lived that sense of an inner power and of love, and they had their self-disciplines. They weren't wild and crazy people. And maybe that's the gift of faith that they passed on to me. Kind of a silent faith. And how do we each give voice then, if we have that silent faith? How do we give voice to that faith? How do we give action to that faith? Do we just sit on our glider porch and let the world go by? That'd be nice, wouldn't it? But there's times when we have to stand up and stand out and speak up and do Ktizo, our faith. I did a wedding on Friday night. I met the couple only about a week ago because the pastor that they have bailed on them at the last minute. So they found me, and they live in Virginia. He's in the Navy. Her mother lives in Scottsdale, and the wedding was there with family coming in. She's African American, and he's white. And they have a 14-month-old daughter. And they went to a bakery in Scottsdale and asked, a little cake topper with the bride and groom on top. They had an African American couple, and they had a white couple. And they would not paint a face white or black to change it. They refused service in 2016 to a mixed race couple because the city of Scottsdale has no non-discrimination policy, like many cities in Arizona. You can be fired from your job for being gay, or obviously mixed race, you can be fired from a job, kicked out of your apartment, and you can be refused accommodations, like a baker does not have to bake you a cake for your wedding. When do we rekindle that voice and say, friends, that's wrong? There's other things that are just wrong in this world. And when do we give voice to that, wherever we are, whoever we are, whatever gifts we think we have, to rekindle that light within, the Hanukkah light, whatever you call that, that light that's right about here, that spark of faith, that spark of the divine, that still small voice that is saying to you, justice, hope, peace, all of the people, not just some. So for yourself, when you think about who and what and how do I rekindle the gift of God that is within me? Amen.
I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. You get your fill to eat, but always have that hunger. May you never take one single breath for granted. God forbid I'll ever leave you empty-handed. I hope you still feel small when you stand beside the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. Promise me that you'll give fate a fighting chance. Now when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. You never fear those mountains in the distance. Never settle for the path of least resistance. Living might mean taking chances, but never taken. Loving might be a mistake, but it's worth making. Don't let some hell-bent heart leave you bitter. Close to selling out, reconsider. Give the heavens above more than just a passing glance. And when you get the choice to sit down and dance, I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you still feel small when you stand beside the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. Promise me that you'll be faith the fighting chance. And when you get the choice to sit down and dance, I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you dance.
Thank you. That song was perfect. We come together sharing our joys and our concerns, grateful all the gifted people of Ktizo. Ktizo East and Tony Casaldo are having church in Mesa, and we keep them in our prayers. In fact, Tony's going to come and share here during October. Jim and Brenda Gallup, Brenda had her heart surgery, but they had to go back and redo it again. So keep Brenda in your prayers. Sharon and Bob got married yesterday. Bob left you already.
John.
He's gone. It's less than Johnny, but it
Yeah,
didn't stick.
his name is John.
John. Well, no wonder Bob left. Who's Bob? Sorry, that's my
I don't know
bad.
Bob.
Sharon and John got married. Mr. and Mrs. John Hyde, with a wonderful family celebration here yesterday and dinner afterwards. And tons of friends from all over and just such joy in the room. And I'll apologize to Bob. That looks like a Bob. Continued prayers for the gun violence that happens all too very often. Hal Holman is continuing to recover. And Mary, who cares for him. Megan's off and singing and
She actually just sent me a text maybe 15 minutes ago and said hello, and she loves everybody.
Continue to pray for Max's grandmother, who's recovering from a stroke. Russell Jennings and KJ Finder. Diane mentioned last week her friend Judy, who has a recurrence of cancer. And we continue to pray for loved ones with addictions and those who are in recovery. Are there joys, concerns you would share as well?
One of my joys in the last 18 years has been working with this team that I have now. They are one of my greatest joys and frustrations. I'm asking for prayers as I leave for them.
We'll keep you all in our prayers. Amy finished work this Thursday. We'll do it. Here comes Bob now. I'm so sorry I put you up there as Sharon and Bob. He's not listening to
He
you.
doesn't know what's going on.
He doesn't know what's
It's
going
not
on.
Bob.
He's not responding to Bob.
Sharon and Bob.
My bad. It's all on me. Other joys, concerns? Yes.
My sister Ruth was put in harm's way at work last week, so I just asked that you lift her up in prayers and keep her safe.
And she is safe.
Yes, for now. What? Sorry, that was kind of. What happened was that she got a flu shot at work. She works for Humana, and an outside corporation came in and was giving flu shots, and the guy was using the same needle on a lot of people. And when he was called out on it, he said, well, the company never told me, which is totally ignorance. But anyway, so now she has to go under a bunch of series of tests for HIV and hepatitis for the next few months. He's gonna pray that she'll be okay.
Wow. Her and how many other people?
Yes,
Can you imagine?
exactly.
Oof. Others?
Nancy,
Just
for the folks who helped in the school project yesterday, just all the churches.
yesterday was Love Our Schools Day, and we had several people from Ktizo and really spread across Washington Elementary School District. Some of us went to Cactus Wren and tore out Bermuda grass, and laid down wood chips and planted some seeds, and hope that somebody takes on the garden as a project. Do you know what Bermuda grass is? It's like this nasty little grass, but then when you pull it up, like its root goes from here to Andrew. Like, seriously, you cannot kill this stuff. They should put it like down on I-10 near Pioneer Peak, and it would just cure all the dust storms. So yes, that was a fun project. But they cleaned in the school, and they cleaned the teacher's lounge, and they organized the library, and just really hundreds of volunteers across the school district loved our school district. And I think that's a national event, actually. So let us come together in a spirit of prayer, and you can again call out your thanksgivings as we come together. Today we will celebrate World Communion Sunday, honoring the one who binds us together as one Christian community around the planet and calls us to live out our faith as one body. So let us call out and lift up the deeds and acts of the church, for which we are really thankful.
The people who clean our church.
For Lisa, all the work she's gone into making this first farmer's market happen.
Our pastors, our musicians,
thanksgiving to all the love that's shared in this room every week.
With cowboy hats and boots.
Second chances.
For the way we care for and about one another outside of these walls, as we call and share and give love and pray and visit. Thank you for the gifts you have given all of your people, for we know that you have not given any of us a gift of cowardice, but a gift of hope and of courage and of your peace. Today we gather with Christians around the world to come around a common table, to know that in this ministry we are not alone, that there is strength in our numbers, there is strength in our love. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. And so we're invited to share our gifts, including our Neighbors in Need offering. We give thanks for the planet we share with all of God's creation and for imagining a world made new. Let us share what we have as one way of creating a world free from hunger, poverty, and oppression. Our gifts to Ktizo United Church of Christ and to our Neighbors in Need United Church of Christ special offering.
us, O God, as people of your global village, to trust a new creation is possible. May our sharing be a symbol of that trust. Amen. Today's World Communion Sunday, and for, I guess, it's been 36 years now. World Communion Sunday, I've tried to find different breads and juices and things to bring meaning to it. I should have gotten Armenian bread, but what I did do was I called one of my friends I play tennis with, who has helped on the floors and done some other things here. And last night, Nisha, his wife, they're from lower India, she made us our bread for today. So, I don't know if you've ever tried to explain this meal to a Hindu woman, but our languages were interesting to share back and forth. But she talked to me last night for about 20 minutes, just the two of us in the kitchen, talking about the bread that Jesus shared and about the 12 disciples and what it meant. I was thrilled to have her talk with me about our faith. And it's the first time almost everybody I've ever asked is kind of like, hey, they're some kind of Christian. But it was my first real opportunity in a very long time to talk to someone as if it were for the first time that Jesus took the bread and shared it. And when we were done, she went, I get it. It was just all this Christian stuff that, she sees because she lives in our culture. Altman, I get it. And you could see she got it because that's the kind of life she leads. She's that kind of a self-giving, love person. So I'm going to be interested over the next months to watch and see how that plays out in her life. People today have already in India shared the body of Christ. Her husband, Naga, actually went to a partner church of the United Church of Christ. He was raised as a Hindu Christian. He went to Christian school every day, and he worshiped every morning at his temple. He would do your meditation first thing in the morning at the temple, walk over barefoot, say prayers. Jesus came to a culture that was neither Christian nor were they Hindu. They were Jews. Good people, God's chosen people. And Jesus, as a good Jewish boy, met with his Jewish friends, his disciples, and they met in an upper room. I don't know if any of you have ever had a special moment with friends when you're not in a wedding, but you're in a time of real crisis, when things aren't going well. And who are the peeps that you gather around you for support and for connection, for love? Jesus gathered with the 12. And as happens when you're under a lot of pressure, they didn't get it at all. But Jesus said, this is my body broken for you. The everyday things that we share. I give it to you. Took a cup. Probably it was wine, kind of watered down wine actually, but wine that he shared with them like they would have at a meal. And he said, this cup is the new covenant in my love poured out for you. Nisha named a Hindu tradition that matches this. And it's about 15 syllables, so I can't talk to you, and I apologize. I don't want to make fun of it at all. But it was funny to have her say, oh, this is Baba, But the beauty of God's love is, Jesus says, I give you my body, I give you my blood, I give you my all, that you might have life. Do you have any friends that live death? I had a young man last night say to me on the phone, I asked the police if I gave them $300 if they would shoot me. He wanted to die. He hated himself so much. To discover through Jesus that love that renders all of our existences as life and abundance. Let us pray. We ask you, Lord, to help us to discover and to deliver through our embodiment of your grace the gift of forgiveness, the incredible gift of grace, the incredible gift of love and life. We ask you to bless these elements and fill us with new hope for justice, for peace. Amen. In our family, in our church family, you're invited to come up, take a little piece of the bread broken off, dip it in a cup, take it to yourself, and be filled by God's Holy Spirit. Come, for all things are now ready. Will you help me have it today? John, would you be willing to help today? Oh, yeah, John. You. There you go. Come, for all things now ready. For the bounty and blessing of this table. We thank you for the goodness and the sweetness of your love. Praise be to you, O God. Amen. Rekindle the gift of God that is within you. Where, how, why have you shown your light? How are you rekindling the gift of God that is within you? I remember a day, a year or two ago, when we were at the hospital. You were having a bad day. Remember that? Yeah. And then, you remember the day you chose not to?
I dream about those days all the time. I just can't seem to get them out of my mind. But it's just good to have God back in my life.
I remember. Yeah. What an incredible gift it is that in the moments of most darkness, God is there. Doesn't kick us aside even when we think God should. Anyone else?
Yesterday, my son called and said he was gonna stop by, and he was bringing a friend that I hadn't seen for about a year and a half. His friend is an addict. Last time I saw him, it was very ugly, and I got very nervous, and I said, "Are you sure you wanna do that?" He said, "Mom, this is an opportunity for forgiveness and healing." Oh, how can I say no to that? And I was a little nervous. I came by for a few minutes and, just here for the weekend. And oh my gosh, he was right. It was an opportunity for me to forgive and to see that miracles do happen and the picture of health. Thank you.
Yes.
Come, go ahead. You can start.
Okay. Actually, this is more of a story. I was on the train home this week, and there was this woman who was talking on the phone, and she just burst out laughing, just as loud and as wholeheartedly as she possibly could. And there was also a homeless man sitting on the train, and as soon as she got off the phone, the homeless man turned to her and said, "Ma'am, you've made my day." And she goes, "Why?" She goes, "Because your laugh, you laugh like no one else I've ever heard before." She goes, "Thank you." She was very awkward and sort of like, "I wonder why." He was like, "No, you still have life in your laugh. My friends don't have life in their laugh anymore, and it doesn't have the same meaning." And it just brought so much joy to hear this woman laugh from this homeless man, and it made the rest of my day too. And a good reminder that there's love all around us, so.
When I think back even just a year ago, how am I rekindling the gift of God? I shut everybody out. I was sad and I was afraid. And I think, and I thought this morning, I thought, just a year ago, right now, a year ago, I didn't care if I lived or I died. And my life has changed so much because of the connection I have with God and the connection I have with people and the people that I surrounded myself when I was going through all that stuff. And I thank God that I'm still here.
We do too. 10 years ago, yesterday, Nancy and I moved into the valley. What a wild ride it's been. I'm so grateful to God that I was willing, after I turned down Beatitudes about 12 times, I said yes, because I got to work at Ktizo and discover how transformation can take place, not only in your lives, but in mine too. Yeah. Anybody else? Vince? Okay. As we go forward, please join me today. From east, west, north, and south,
We have been fed. Now may the God of community, three in one, be with us all to be just, free, and gentle people. Let the people of God Amen.
Every time it rains, and it's from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Be sure that your umbrella is upside down. Trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and me. Trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven, pennies from heaven. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and me.
Come to Olga Corbett, and what a story she was in the Munich games on the uneven parallel bars. Linda, she had a little bit of everything happen to her, didn't
She
she?
sure did. On her first round of optionals, she had a problem. She got off a little bit on her timing, and then she just couldn't pull herself back together. She just really blew the whole routine.
But you know, at that particular moment, she captured the hearts of millions here in the United States when she cried on television that night, and then she came back with a move that I don't think anybody's ever seen on the parallel bar.
Yeah, she sure did. And the next day, she really outdid herself. She did one of the best jobs that she could do on the bars.
Here she is.
She's getting ready for her famous trick. And complete to herself. All the cameras in the place went off.
Linda, did you ever attempt anything like that, a closer experiment with that move?
Yeah, I tried it, and I had put it in my routine, and then once I did it, and I hit my nose and my upper lip on the bar, came a little too close. Here's her dismount, somersault.
Like perfect. Really?